cannot breathe. I don't know where they're going. I just know I woke up in this fucking truck.
That voice you just heard? That was Ark Kalola, NBA YoungBoy's baby mama desperately calling for help in a moment that turned deadly. And she's not the only one. From 6ix9ine, whose own mother was targeted, to Trey Songz, whose daughter vanished after a routine drop-off, this isn't just rap beef anymore. This is war spilling into real life.
That your girlfriend was killed and your baby was kidnapped.
This isn't just a rap story, this is a nightmare that never let go. Young Lay is tied to one of the most chilling tragedies in Bay Area history, and it starts with a night that feels almost unreal. May 17, 1996. Vallejo, California, that 17-year-old Daphne Marie Bodden, an honor student, and a brand new mother, was gunned down inside her grandmother's home, shot repeatedly with no mercy. And if that wasn't enough, the killers tried to erase everything, setting the house on fire to cover their tracks. But they didn't leave empty-handed as flames swallowed the building. They walked out carrying something far more terrifying: a 3 to 4 week old newborn. Daphne's son, Legion Demario Williams, gone. Neighbors saw it. 2 teenage girls, a bundle in their arms, smoke pouring behind them, and then nothing. Just silence. That moment became the last confirmed sighting of that child for over 6 years. And here's where it gets even darker.
I knew my girl was gone.
Yeah.
You feel me? Gone.
The perpetrators were not street rivals, not ops from a rival camp. They were teenage girls. The ringleader was 15-year-old Latasha Brown, Young Lay's ex-girlfriend, consumed entirely by jealousy over the fact that Daphne had given birth to his child. Brown had been telling people for months that she was the baby's mother. Reports indicate she may have been experiencing pseudocyesis, a documented psychological condition involving a false pregnancy. Her cousin, Oyinetta Williams, assisted in the attack. Brown's own mother, Dolores Brown, later helped conceal the child once the crime was done. For over 6 years, Legion was being raised just 2 miles from the site of his mother's murder under a false name with a forged birth certificate. The case was featured on both America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. In November 2002, an anonymous tip led Vallejo police directly to Latasha Brown, then 22, who had been raising Legion as her own son the entire time. DNA confirmed his identity. Lujan, 6 years old, was recovered and reunited with his biological family.
And guess what? He called me this morning.
That's what's up.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Latasha Brown was convicted in 2004 of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and arson, receiving a sentence of 37 years to life. Her appeal was denied in 2006. Years earlier, Young Lay had already been living inside a nightmare. In 1998, he released an album titled Unsolved Mysteries, dedicating it to the disappearance of his son long before the story ever made it to a TV show with the same name. Then, in January 2026, a TV One documentary reopened the wound, revisiting the entire case and capturing Young Lay's first public words in over 25 years. He revealed that his son had called him that very morning. One call, one moment, and then silence. That was all it took to change everything. And then there's another story that feels almost impossible to believe until you realize it's real. Bigakin and Kamaya Mobley, 18 years, not days, not months, 18 full years before a father could finally hold his daughter for the first time. Kamaya Mobley was born on July 10, 1998, at University Medical Center in Jacksonville, Florida. Her mother, Shawnara Mobley, was just 15 years old. Her father, Craig Akin, a local rapper, was behind bars on drug charges at the exact moment his daughter entered the world. 8 hours later, she was gone that a woman named Gloria Williams walked into the hospital wearing scrubs and a floral smock, moving with the quiet confidence of someone who belonged. She had already spent time gaining the young mother's trust earlier that day. No alarms, no suspicion, just calculated patience. Then she picked up the newborn and walked out.
She said, I have good news and I have bad news. I said, what's the good news? Because I'm already in jail. What can be worse than it?
Craig Akin found out he was a father and that his daughter had been kidnapped on the exact same day, sitting inside a jail cell. He asked the...
She said, your daughter Kamaya was born, 7 pounds, 8 ounces. So I asked her what the bad news was. She said, your daughter was kidnapped. Well, as I knew about kidnapping, it don't happen on TV. and moving. It did a lot to me in there because I felt like I didn't do my job to protect her or Kamaya.
Gloria Williams had just suffered a miscarriage in an abusive relationship and took the baby to fill that void. She forged documents. She invented an identity. She raised Kamaya in Walterboro, South Carolina, under the name Alexis Kelly Manigo for 18 uninterrupted years. In January 2017, when Kamaya turned 18 and tried to apply for a job requiring official identification, documents Williams flatly refused to provide, the cracks finally opened. A tip reached investigators. DNA testing confirmed everything. She was alive. She was safe.
I don't know, it was like breathtaking. Like, you know, I swear she looked to me like Shannara. She just looked beautiful.
No warning. No enemies circling. No street beef gone wrong. Just a young man with his whole life ahead of him who stepped outside one February morning and vanished without a trace. Rest in peace, Nathan Smith. But as haunting as that sounds, it doesn't even scratch the surface of what Busy Bones survived before the world ever heard his voice. Born Brian Anthony McCain II on September 12, 1976, in Columbus, Ohio. His childhood was shattered before it even had a chance to begin. At just 4 years old, his life was ripped apart by someone who wasn't even family by blood, but had enough access to do irreversible damage. His mother's ex-husband waited for the perfect moment. The second she left for work, he made his move. He didn't just take Busy. He took his sisters, 2 Hope and Heather. 3 children, gone in an instant. What followed wasn't a short nightmare. It stretched into more than 2 years of captivity. Not weeks, not months, years. The abductor kept them constantly moving houses, apartments, cheap motels, never staying long enough for anyone to catch on. Every day was calculated. Every move was about staying invisible. And while their physical location kept changing, the psychological prison stayed Loctite. He told them their mother was dead, that Christmas didn't exist anymore, that nobody was coming. He beat them down mentally and physically, stripping away any sense of hope. For Busy, it went even darker. People connected to the abductor subjected him to abuse no child could even begin to process. He didn't have the words for it. He didn't have the understanding, just the trauma. A large part of this horror unfolded on the Kaw Indian Reservation, a location that made law enforcement's job even harder due to jurisdictional complications. And then, against all odds, the break came from the most unexpected place imaginable, that IN 1983. A babysitter watching the kids happened to catch the ending of Adam, a film based on the tragic case of Adam Walsh. As the credits rolled, a missing children segment aired. For a split second, Busy's face flashed across the screen. The babysitter froze. She recognized him. One phone call changed everything. Police moved in, recovered all 3 children, and finally returned them to their real mother. A nightmare that lasted years ended in a moment, but the scars didn't disappear with it. For a long time, Busy stayed silent. The world knew his music, his voice, his harmonies, but not his past. It wasn't until 2002, during an appearance on America's Most Wanted, that he publicly thanked the show and urged other victims to speak up. Even his own group, including Lazybone, had no idea what he had endured. They learned the truth the same way the public did. Watching that broadcast in shock, years later, he put everything into words in his autobiography, Inside a Thug's Mind. The same way he used music as an escape, as therapy, as survival. The layered harmonies, the rapid-fire flows, the emotional depth that defined an era, all of it came from a child who lost over 2 years of his life before he even knew what hip-hop was.
I cannot breathe. I don't know where they're going. I just know I woke up in this fucking truck.
In under an hour, every major hip-hop platform was on full alert. Fans were tagging YoungBoy. Comment sections were overflowing with genuine terror. The clip moved across every app simultaneously like a shockwave.
Yeah, everybody can unfollow me. I don't even really be on this page like that.
But here is where the story pivots. Later that same day, Arcola posted a calm, almost startlingly calm, follow-up story. She confirmed she was completely fine. She noted with almost pointed energy that the people closest to her had not posted anything frantic because they already knew she was safe. And 2 days later, during a Twitter Spaces session, the entire curtain dropped.
And like I said, I apologize for the ones who were genuinely concerned.
And pushed her publicly to stop putting content like that into the world, given the size of her reach. There was no police report filed on her end, no arrest, no investigation, and zero documented connection to NBA YoungBoy's actual street rivalries or ongoing feuds. From start to finish, it was a viral moment that traveled several thousand miles past whatever she originally intended. The reason this story opens the list is not to pile on. It is to make one very precise point. The internet is so completely primed for stories like this one. Stories about rappers and their families being hunted, targeted, grabbed that a convincing enough prank can mobilize an entire community in minutes flat. And honestly, you cannot even fully blame people for falling for it. The darkness of that footage was believable. The detail about the hidden phone was genuinely specific and chillingly plausible. Arcola is, by her own words, profoundly childish when the camera is on, and that had always worked for her before. This time, it worked far too well. Lesson absorbed with roughly the amount of grace you would expect. But she was safe. The 9 stories below, not every single one of them land that softly. Again, thanks for watching this video. If you like this content, then subscribe for every update.